Now, Conway did add that the White House feels sad about the senseless act of violence and said they may actually talk about this with Canada's Prime Minister, who she said may visit the U.S. as soon as next week.
Well, Margaret, we just heard Kellyanne Conway's response to why certain attacks were not included. But what is the administration's response to the attacks that were included and were, in fact, widely covered, like San Bernardino and Orlando?
There wasn't a lot of detailed back and forth or discussion or context given whatsoever at today's White House briefing, but I think most media organizations went through and saw, as CBS did, that the vast majority of those were widely covered by media organizations. It was also so notable which did make the list, which didn't make the list, which countries were counted. And when the White House said they didn't know who the attacker was, it wasn't clear how they could attribute it to someone. So I think that was very quickly put aside by journalists who really, once again, focused Sean Spicer's attention on the justification for why the president would have accused the media of deliberately covering it up. The spokesperson, Sean Spicer, really sort of brushed that aside and said, look, it's not the detail, it's the intent that matters here. And you all are not focusing on what President Trump feels he's trying to do here and perhaps feels attacked for attempting to do.
All right, let me turn to another topic. Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly's comments. He basically took the blame and took responsibility, he said, for not necessarily consulting with Congress, and he blamed himself for the confusion that unfolded. But did he say specifically, Margaret, why he didn't speak with Congress or what he might have done differently?
Well, the Homeland Security chief really took the hit for the administration in terms of saying to Congress, I should have hit the brakes, pumped the brakes, so to speak, on this and talked to you on Capitol Hill before the White House moved forward with this. But what he was essentially saying is I could have raised a few red flags. It's not at all clear to anyone that he could have stopped the White House from moving forward with an executive order that they felt very strongly the president needed to roll out very quickly, since it was something he clearly communicated on and campaigned on while he was on the trail. Of course, changing the characterization from what he described as a candidate as a Muslim ban to as president, saying this is not about banning Muslims, it's about banning refugees and banning people from the 7 countries that the Obama administration had already said there were problems with screening processes at. So that's where the Homeland Security chief focused today. I thought it was interesting, though, Elaine, that he said at this point he's not going to add to the list of banned countries. But Sean Spicer, the White House spokesperson, said later, well, the review's still underway. So it's not at all clear that this is just going to end at 7 countries. As Paula Reed and some of your correspondents before this said, it's hard to really anticipate the decision-making process here at the White House because President Trump feels so strongly about fighting and winning this. The legalities, of course, and the courts are what are slowing this. But keep in mind, this order does have a timeline in it, by which the State Department and Homeland Security have to figure out whether the countries banned meet security requirements. So there are timelines here, regardless of what the courts decide, that force some decision making at the agencies. It then, though, leads to the question of what does the White House do with the information if the Secretary of State or the Secretary of the Homeland Security come forward and say, I don't think Iraq should be on this list any longer. Is this a piecemeal, taking people on, taking people off? We'll have to see.
Yeah, no, that's a really important point, that there is a time frame associated with this. All right, Margaret Brennan at the White House. Margaret, thanks so much.